everybody.
Early morning, set your alarm clocks. Great to see y'all, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Seminole Script. My name is Jack Williams with
Ehsan Kassim.
And yeah, welcome back to Seminole Script. We'll just jump into it. We're right into it right now. As you can tell, I was repeating our introduction. But yeah, talking about this week, last week, and what's coming up. But we'll talk about last week. Duke, really big win for Florida State. What are your final thoughts here on Duke?
That was we talked about after the game. That was an impressive win. And before we get into the game, like that crowd, that was my 10th game I've covered at Duke. You think we're up at like 5-6 games now?
Yeah.
And you've been to a few as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best atmosphere.
Better than the Florida game?
For Florida State, better than the Florida game.
Mm-hmm.
The Florida game was not as loud. Like rushing the field was cool, but man, it was loud. Like it was loud. Not just on third down. On first down, they got the crowd going. Second down, That was fun. That was a fun game.
It was. It was a true night game at Doak, and we hadn't seen that this season yet. I think that was the first. No, it was Southern Miss.
But that's Southern Miss.
But this was a primetime ranked matchup. It was something that was being looked forward to by. It was the game kind of the night. That was the big game of the night on ABC. There was a lot surrounding it as well, and it was the first game, in my opinion, outside of Camping World Stadium that I actually felt, you felt the press box, rumble a few times.
You felt home games, right?
Yeah, well, home games. With shaking too. I mean, there was one time at Camping World Stadium that I felt the stadium actually shake, but you felt a few rumbles there, and that was the first time that I had felt that, which was it was a little crazy to feel in some of that, but no, it was a crazy environment, exciting game, thrilling game, just in general. It's everything that you kind of wanted out of that game, honestly.
Because we were both at Clemson.
Yeah,
and that was I think this still waits behind the Clemson because the Clemson was just crazy.
That's the loudest football environment I've ever been in my life. That was very loud. And
keep in mind, that was a open air, so it's a little easier to hear. But I wonder if we had open air for this one, how would it rival? Mm-hmm. But I think still Clemson's 1, Doak is 2. Can't wait to get the Swamp. That's later this year.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I really hope that's a night game. I know it's gonna suck for us if it's a night game.
That'll be exciting.
But I want the atmosphere. I want all that. But back to the game. Mm-hmm. That was an impressive performance by the defense. Riley Leonard was obviously not 100%. Knocked early from the game. I think that was the defense's goal to knock a hobbled quarterback out of the game by hitting him, pressuring him. You don't want to hurt a player, but you also want to make sure
remove him as a threat from the game.
Yes, yeah. And they did. Mm-hmm. He was not great passing. He was limited in the run game. I think he had 1 or 2 rushes. And Florida State played really well. I do have a question about if he did not get hurt because they had a 3-point lead. Duke did, that is. And they're driving. Leonard gets knocked out. 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line. Florida State gets a goal line stand. Gets a turnover on downs. They go down and score. And from that point, it was just a rout.
Well, I would argue too that it was they outscored Duke. Was it 18-0 or something along those lines? I don't think it was 18-0, but it might have been. It was a wide range. I think Duke still would have had a presence in the game, but considering how many points Florida State scored from there on out, I don't really think that it would have been Duke's game down the line. I think Florida State really cracked open things in the 4th quarter.
The problem with that is if Duke has a 10-point game, they're playing with different confidence. Right, they still have their quarterback. I think once the quarterback got hurt and they got the turnover on downs. I questioned the press box. I thought they should have kicked the field goal there. Not kicking a field goal, they're taking the points on the road against a really good team without your quarterback. I think it was a mistake. I think all that deflated them on the sideline and took a lot out of it. So I do think it's. The 18-point game obviously happens because Florida State was a better team, and I'm not saying Florida State loses that game. I think they probably still win because they're a better team, but it's a different game. It's a different game because Florida State is under pressure. They've not been down by 10 points in the second half. Mm-hmm. Going to the 4th quarter, the pressure's on them. So I've seen the conversation this week, this Riley Leonard, a guy who was not, didn't pass the ball great, but he had more completion on that drive. Mm-hmm. Was starting to improve. It's a different game. I'm not saying Florida State loses that game, but either way, impressive win, 18-point win. You know,
it was, and you know, you could talk about some of the performances we saw as well too in the offense. Even with Johnny Wilson going down, Jaheim Bell really stepped up in that game. At tight end, he's just been a dynamic, very versatile player from tight end. A lot of the tight end room has honestly been. He had a good game. Keon Coleman had another strong game, and then we finally saw, we saw Jordan Travis finally get a little bit more mobile in that game, finally run the ball a little bit more. I'm kind of seeing the sparks of what Jordan Travis was last season. And he had a lot of those dynamic plays, talked about how he had a conversation with Coach Norvell talking about, having fun more when he was playing the game and stuff like that. And he said against the Duke game, he was really having fun. He really had fun playing against them. I mean, this is what my dad always tells me, and granted, me and my sister are not playing Division I college sports and stuff like that, but when we were younger, he'd always say, like, if you're not enjoying the game, like, that's a major purpose of it. If you're playing a sport, you should be having fun doing it. So that was something Norvell was emphasizing with him as well, and I personally believe that to be something that athletes should inspire you to have fun every time they're out there. But there's also the value in winning, and then, nowadays there's money involved and stuff like that, and there's a lot more elements involved in it, but it is important to be enjoying yourself out there.
We talk about NIL, Heisman expectations, championship aspirations. Jordan Travis, as we know, is a perfectionist. So all of that, I think, was weighing on him, and I think that was weighing him. Like, at LSU game looked like he was having fun. Then he's been more business-like. So I think he actually went out there and had fun. Him talking about that, obviously, because Jordan, as we've talked about in the past, is a reserved person.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to admit that and be, is a big thing, and it was cool to hear him say that and, talk about that, because that's a major step. And, we had an article about it before the season where Mike Norvell, was the first one to believe in Jordan Travis that he could win a Heisman. That he's even in this place. He told him to go outside, look at the trophy. So those sit-downs with Mike Norvell are very productive for Jordan Travis, obviously.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to do here down the stretch. 2 big road games coming up. Just in the fact that Florida State hasn't played on the road in 3 weeks, and the road games they have played in have been challenging for them. You could argue one was expected to be challenging, and the other one was not really. Boston College kind of snuck up on them. They thought they were going to run away with that game, and they were for a bit, and kind of had that fourth quarter collapse. But these next 2 games are going to show what this team is truly like on the road, facing in games that they're both heavily favored in Wake Forest and Pittsburgh. You're headed to Wake. What have you been hearing about this week about how Florida State's preparing and what they're preparing for?
So obviously they're preparing for that slow mesh offense where, the quarterback receives the ball, receives the snap, and kind of waits a second to be there to, hand it off. It's a RPO. Where
it's very interesting to see in person.
The quarterback has the option of running the ball, throwing the ball, or, handing off the running back.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide very late. So the defense has got to stay disciplined. And Florida State's faced this a few times, so they should be prepared. But it's a different kind of, because it's different than every other offense you're going to face the rest of the season. It's kind of like the Syracuse, where they play, a bunch of defensive backs on defense. So it's something they've seen, something they're used to, but haven't seen all season, so it's going to be a different test. But it's Wake Forest. They have great coaching with Dave Clawson. They have really good players. Quarterback play has been iffy this year from time to time. The defense has been solid. So that's why, ESPN's Craig Kirkstreet, who has been covering Florida State a lot this year, has them on upset alert. We had an article on Wednesday about that going up. So it's gonna be interesting. I do not I don't buy the 20.5 point favorites. I think it's gonna be a little closer than that. But I also don't buy the upset alert. I think it's be we'll get to predictions in the podcast later today.
Yes, yeah, we'll get into that.
But I do expect it to be a close game. I do expect Wake Forest to keep it competitive. And I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a nice test for Florida State to go on the road. It's a noon game. That's also earlier time. We've seen Florida State struggle a little bit with the noon times.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be interesting. But yeah, no, Florida State's getting ready for that slow mesh offense. It's going to be a talented defense. Dave Clawson is a good coach. Obviously, we have the, is Griffiths going to play, or is it going to be the backup quarterback? So there's a lot going on. It's football week, Dave Clawson yesterday was not going to tip his hand who the quarterback was. He would also not rule out playing both quarterbacks. So interesting,
Yeah, that slow mesh offense almost operates like a slingshot, honestly, just because of, as you mentioned, how much time it takes to to get the playoff and stuff like that. I was watching a few videos. I'm writing the opponent preview, which will be out on Thursday today. I watched a few videos of the slow mesh offense just to get a little bit more detail on it. Just the fact that sometimes when it looks like they're handing off, they will literally walk the ball up the field before, if the quarterback decides the pass option, will immediately pull back and throw it off. And it happens so quick, but it's slow at the same time. And Tatum Bethune talked about, in a story I wrote, on Tuesday, about just how he really struggled last game. He said it was one of the worst games of his career last year because that was the first time he's seen the slow mesh offense. He said from the linebacker perspective, it's been so difficult because you can't see the ball and you don't know what's going to happen with it. And he's prepared avidly for that as well. You mentioned the secondary is going to be a major part of what they're preparing for this week and what's going on in the backfield. And Wake Forest has had a lot of success in that. This has just been a very strange team that FSU has had to deal with over the past few years. They've lost the last 3 meetings against them. They haven't won since 2017 in Winston-Salem. I don't think Mike Norvell has had.
Mike Norvell's never beat them.
He's never beaten. That's such a weird thing to say when Wake Forest is kind of the blip in your record and not known as a traditional perennial football powerhouse, but a team that FSU, it's kind of been their Achilles heel for these past few years and stuff like that. Granted, last year they had the success they did. And I'm trying to think of who said it yesterday. I cannot remember, but he talked about how I think it was Bethune. He said they're just a different team this year. They're just different players that are not as good, but still a successful team. But still mentioned that if they get momentum, they could run with it. And, is this the biggest trap game coming up? I mean, there's Florida at the end of the schedule, but I mean, that's still expected to be a tight, close game. But when we're talking about trap games, is this the biggest one that kind of sticks out?
I mean, I think that could be next week, which we're getting to, because, that's Pittsburgh beat Louisville, who beat Notre Dame. But that's a story for next week.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So it just makes no sense. Wake Forest beat Pittsburgh on a controversial play because of a controversial play last year. So last week. So it's all interesting. But yes, going back to what you were saying about
and Pitt lost on a controversial. It wasn't but they lost very uniquely against Wake last week. Their quarterback slid too early of the first down. They had to punt it away. Wake made that drive to win the game.
But yeah, so going back to what you were saying, earlier, Wake Forest has become respectable, has become a really good program under Dave Clawson. He's a really good coach. I think you had a new story last week. Adam Fuller coached under him at Richmond, or with him at Richmond.
Yeah. Yes.
So the Elko connection comes all the way back this week.
Yeah, I had to make that way around because I was like, no, that was Elko. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, it was Clawson's staff. I'm like, yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah, it's, another team that their coaching staff they're familiar with is because, I think you notice how college football is. All the coaches know each other. But yeah, anyways, it's going to be an interesting game. But Wake Forest is a team that they have some good wins this year. They also have some interesting losses this year. The Pittsburgh game last week where Clawson talked about they opened the playbook last week for Mariucci.
Yeah, Mariucci. He's named after, he has the same name as the Minnesota Golden Gophers hockey arena. That's how I know it.
There we go. You guys get a hockey reference in here.
Yeah, there you go. Go Tallahassee Tiger Sharks. Yeah, but anyway, continue.
But yeah, so he was talking about they trust him. It was his first career college start, so they were kind of they didn't open the offense up. So what you saw last week is not necessarily Wake Forest because Griffiths has been there for a while. He's was the heir apparent to Sam Hartman, who's at Notre Dame, who's having great success over there. So it could be interesting to see what happens if they open up the offense, if they have even a little bit of success, keep Florida State off. I think we talked about this all year. Keeping Jordan Travis on the sideline is the best defense you can have.
Yeah. I mean, if Wake Forest is trying to limit what they do, it starts with Jordan Travis and just he's been the pinpoint of what this offense has done throughout the year and stuff like that. As we've seen, the rushing game has found a little bit more momentum lately. I would argue it's not at its peak now. Still, we
saw for the most part Duke shut him down last week.
Yeah. It was silence last week, and we really haven't seen the rushing game really pop off against these bigger teams before. I mean, there's the the infamous Clemson game and the stat line they put up against them. It wasn't very high against Duke. Granted, Wake isn't the most elite team right now, but at the same time, it wouldn't be surprising if their rushing game gets shut down there as well. It could go off as well. And we also talk about if Johnny Wilson will play, as he left early against Duke.
2 times in 3 weeks he's left early. We don't have an official injury, so we're not going to speculate on that.
No, we don't. We don't know anything other than that he left the game early. Did not return. And like you said, he didn't appear in the Syracuse game. When he got injured at Virginia Tech. So we don't know what's going to happen against Wake Forest, but that is a possibility of what could happen. But we'll leave it at that. But yeah, Ehsan, where can you find all of our content at?
Tallahassee.com. Go to the sports section, obviously. And like I mentioned last week, you guys will find great content on FAMU. It's their homecoming week this week. Gerald Thomas has done a great job covering them, so do check that out. There's going to be some great stories. Liam Rooney does a good job covering preps. What's our socials, Jack?
Yeah, so it's on Instagram, it's THL Knoll Sports. It's Knoll Sports just about everywhere else, whether it's on X or Facebook, stuff like that. Mr. Kassim will be traveling from Tallahassee to Charlotte to Greensboro and then taking a 30-minute car ride to Winston-Salem this weekend.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it will be a very quick turnaround. He will be at the game, so he will be providing you guys content throughout. I will be in my apartment watching on TV.
With Clemson.
What? With my dog, of course. He will be with me as well. I'll be keeping a keen eye on the game too.
But I provide good analysis for the game as well.
Yes, he is. I mean, those German Shepherds are very smart breeds. But yeah, I'll find all of our content there. Ehsan will be at the game on Saturday. I will be covering it remotely, and yeah, we will see you all on Saturday.
Thanks, you guys.